My name's Jaden Harper, and up until that blackout on a muggy October evening at Eldridge University, I was just another sophomore grinding through lectures on American Lit and Psych 101, pretending my life was as straight as the grid of ivy-covered dorms lining the quad. Eldridge was one of those classic East Coast campuses. Think red brick buildings that whispered secrets from the Civil War era, sprawling lawns where frisbees flew like freedom, and a student body that looked ripped from a J. Crew catalog. I grew up in a sleepy suburb outside Philly, the kind where dads mowed lawns on Saturdays and moms hosted book clubs that doubled as gossip hours. Mine were the picture-perfect pair. Dad, a high school history teacher with a mustache that could hide secrets. Mom, a nurse who baked apple pies that won county fairs. But beneath the picket fence, I was the glitch, the son who stared too long at the quarterback in gym class, who locked his bedroom door to scroll through forbidden tabs on his laptop. I come out to myself freshman year, in the dead of night after a party where I'd watched two guys from the theater troupe make out by the kegs. It hit me like a freight train. This was me, gay, queer, whatever label stuck. But telling anyone? That was a bridge I'd torch before crossing. Family dinners would turn to interrogations. Church friends would scatter like leaves in a gale. So I buried it deep, dated a girl named Sarah for 3 awkward months just to keep up appearances, and threw myself into campus life like it was a life raft. Study groups, volunteer shifts at the food pantry, late-night runs along the Charles River knockoff we called the Eldridge Stream. Anything to drown out the ache. That night, though, fate or whatever cruel jester ran the universe had other plans. It was orientation week for the incoming freshmen, and as a Psych TA's assistant, I was roped into manning the auditorium for a mandatory welcome to adulthood seminar. The place was packed. Folding chairs creaking under the weight of wide-eyed newbies. Upperclassmen like me slouched in the back rows nursing coffees from the overpriced campus cafe. Dr. Ellis, our advisor, was midway through her slide on navigating identity in a diverse world when the lights flickered. Once, twice, then nothing. The projector whined to a halt, plunging us into oblivion. Panic rippled through the crowd like a Mexican wave gone wrong. Phones lit up in a constellation of blue screens, but the storm outside had knocked out cell towers too. "Stay calm," Dr. Ellis bellowed, her voice a lighthouse in the fog. "Evacuate row by row." But calm was a joke. Chairs toppled, someone shrieked as they tripped over a backpack, and the double doors at the back jammed against the swell of bodies. Rain lashed the tall, arched windows like fists on glass, wind howling through cracks in the old stone walls. I was in row 12, fumbling for my keychain light, when the hand seized me. It was firm, calloused, not the soft grip of a classmate but something earned from labor, maybe. He pulled me sideways, away from the stampede funneling toward the stage. We stumbled into the aisle, bodies brushing in the dark, his breath warm against my ear. "This way, side exit," he muttered, and I let him lead, heart slamming against my ribs. We wove through the chaos, dodging flailing arms and spilled water bottles, until we hit the emergency door by the wings. It burst open into a narrow hallway, lit only by the red glow of an exit sign that buzzed like a dying firefly. That's when he turned me, pinning me gently against the cold brick wall. His face was half shadow, eyes catching the crimson light like embers. Dark hair tousled from the scuffle, jaw shadowed with stubble, a faded band tee clinging to his chest from the humidity. He was a head taller, built like he played intramural soccer or hauled kegs at frat parties. Solid, unapologetic. And before I could gasp out a "who the hell," his mouth was on mine. It wasn't gentle. It was survival, a fierce, claiming press that tasted of adrenaline and unspoken hunger. My brain short-circuited. This was wrong, impossible, here in the bowels of Eldridge Hall with screams echoing behind us. But my body betrayed me, leaning in, hands fisting his shirt as if he'd vanish like smoke. His tongue flicked against my lips, tentative then bold, and a moan escaped me, low, involuntary. Lightning flashed outside, illuminating his profile for a split second. High cheekbones, a scar above his left eyebrow like a punctuation mark on his story. He pulled back first, breathing ragged. "Sorry," he said. But his eyes said the opposite, dark, searching, like he'd found a map he'd been chasing. In the dark, everything feels real. You okay? I nodded, numb, wiping my mouth with the back of my hand as if I could erase the fire he'd lit. Yeah, fine. Thanks for the rescue. My voice cracked, betraying the lie. Who was this guy? A freshman? Transfer? Some ghost from the storm? Gabriel, he supplied, extending a hand that still trembled faintly.
Gabriel Ruiz.
Sophomore art major. And you? Jaden. Psych. We shook, the contact electric even now, and I swear the air hummed between us. Generators kicked in somewhere distant, lights stuttering back to life overhead. The hallway flooded with fluorescence, harsh and revealing. Gabriel blinked, running a hand through his hair, and up close. He was even more disarming. Warm brown skin, laugh lines already etching his eyes at 20. A silver chain necklace glinting against his collarbone. Sirens wailed in the distance. Campus security, probably, and the spell shattered. We should head out, he said, glancing toward the auditorium where order was restoring itself. Find the others. We merged back into the fray, the kiss hanging unspoken like humidity in the air. Outside, the quad was a war zone. Umbrellas inverted like black sails, students huddled under overhangs, laughter mixing with curses as the rain eased to a drizzle. Dr. Ellis did a head count from the steps, her clipboard a shield. I spotted Sarah across the lawn, waving me over with her sorority sisters, but my eyes kept drifting to Gabriel. He was joking with a cluster of art kids, his laugh booming, easy, the kind that made you want to join the circle just to hear it again. That night, I lay in my dorm bed, staring at the glow-in-the-dark stars I'd stuck to the ceiling freshman year. A juvenile habit I couldn't shake. The kiss replayed on loop. The pressure, the heat, the way his stubble grazed my chin. Terrified me, excited me. By dawn, I'd convinced myself it was a fluke, a storm-fueled hallucination. But when I logged into the campus forum for Outage updates, there he was, a post from G. Ruiz Art, with a quick sketch of the auditorium in chaos. Silhouettes tumbling, one figure reaching for another in the shadows. The caption, "Blackouts breed truth. Who's with me?" I liked it before I could stop myself. Stupid, reckless. But in the gray light of morning, with coffee steaming on my windowsill and the Charles River mist rolling in, I felt something shift, a crack in the facade. And damn if it didn't feel like the first real breath I'd taken in years. The next week blurred into a rhythm of glimpses and almosts. Eldridge was small enough that paths crossed like fate's cruel joke. Gabriel in the library's third-floor stacks, flipping through graphic novels with ink-stained fingers. Gabriel at the campus coffee cart, charming the barista out of an extra shot. Gabriel jogging the perimeter trail at dusk, earbuds in, oblivious to the way heads turned. I avoided him at first, ducking into lecture halls early, burying myself in Freudian case studies. But avoidance is a magnet in reverse, pulling you closer when you push hardest. It started innocently enough. A group project in my American Lit seminar paired me with Lena, an art history minor who just happened to know Gabriel from figure drawing classes. He's a wizard with charcoal, she gushed over cafeteria tacos one afternoon. All brooding intensity, but sweet as hell underneath. You should come to the gallery opening this Friday. His pieces are debuting. I mumbled something non-committal, but Friday found me there anyway, nursing a plastic cup of cheap Merlot in the student union's basement gallery. The space was a converted boiler room, exposed pipes snaking the ceiling like veins, white walls slashed with spotlights on canvases that bled emotion. Gabriel's work dominated one corner. Abstracts of fractured light, storms rendered in oils that swirled like memories refusing to settle. I lingered before a piece titled Eclipse. A blackout scene, figures entwined in shadow, faces obscured but bodies speaking volumes of longing. Caught you staring. His voice slithered up my spine, and there he was, shoulder brushing mine. Sleeves rolled to his elbows, revealing forearms corded with quiet strength. He smelled like turpentine and rain, fresh, sharp. It's intense, I managed, heat crawling up my neck. Like you trapped the storm on canvas. He chuckled, low and warm. Or maybe I trapped something else. His gaze held mine, probing, and the room's chatter faded to white noise. That night, the kiss. It wasn't nothing, Jaden. My throat tightened. It was the dark. Adrenaline. We could have died in that stampede. Could have. He stepped closer, voice dropping. But we didn't. And I haven't stopped thinking about your mouth since. The air thickened, charged like the prelude to thunder. I wanted to bolt, to recite every reason this was a disaster. My closet door bolted shut, his easy confidence a world away from my doubts. But his hand grazed my elbow, light as a promise, and I stayed. We talked for hours, weaving through the crowd. His transfer from a community college in Queens after his mom's passing. The way art was his anchor when grief pulled him under. My suburban suffocation, the psych texts that promised understanding but delivered only questions. He quoted Whitman, "I am large, I contain multitudes." And I laughed, really laughed, for the first time in months. By midnight, the gallery emptied, and we wandered the quad under sodium lamps that buzzed like fireflies. Leaves crunched underfoot, the air crisp with autumn's bite. He stopped by the stream, skipping a pebble across the glassy surface. What if we tried this? No labels, just seeing. My heart stuttered. Gabriel, shoo. He cupped my face, thumb tracing my jaw. Not tonight. Just say you'll think about it. I did. All night, tangled in sheets that smelled of him from a borrowed hoodie he draped over my shoulders. And by Sunday brunch in the dining hall, pancakes drowning in syrup, sunlight slanting through arched windows, I decided. Yes. Terrified, but yes. Dating Gabriel was like stepping into sunlight after years in a dim basement. Blinding, warm, and full of shadows you hadn't noticed before. We kept it quiet at first, stolen moments pieced together like a mosaic. Coffee runs where his knee pressed mine under the table. Late-night sketches in his off-campus studio where I'd read aloud from Kerouac while he captured my profile in quick, loving strokes. His place was a third-floor walk-up in a brick row house off-campus. Walls papered with prints from Basquiat and street art he'd salvaged from Brooklyn alleys. It smelled of oil paint and microwave popcorn. A far cry from my sterile dorm with its cinder-block echo. "You're my muse," he'd say, pulling me onto the sagging couch, lips brushing my temple. Kisses evolved from that frantic blackout spark. Slower now, exploratory, mapping the terrain of necks and collarbones with a reverence that left me breathless. No rush, no pressure. Just us, unraveling in the soft glow of string lights he'd hung like stars. But secrecy has teeth. It gnawed at me during class, when I'd catch his silhouette in the window of the art building across the quad, wondering if anyone noticed how my gaze lingered. Sarah cornered me one Tuesday in the student center, her ponytail swinging like a pendulum of judgment. "You've been weird, Jay. Distant."
Spill.
"Just busy?" I lied, stirring my latte into a froth. She was my beard in spirit now, oblivious ally, but guilt twisted like a knife. What if she knew? What if the whole campus did? Worse were the calls home. Mom's voice tinny through my phone speaker every Sunday. "Any girls on the horizon, hon? That Sarah sounds lovely." I'd murmur deflections, staring at photos of Gabriel and me. Snapped on a hike up the Berkshires, his arms slung casual around my waist, both of us grinning like we'd stolen the sun. Humanistic, that's what it felt like. Two souls finding harmony in a discordant world. He taught me to see beauty in fractures. The way a cracked sidewalk bloomed with dandelions, or how vulnerability in a lover's eyes was the truest art. Yet cracks formed, subtle at first. Gabriel's intensity burned bright, but it cast long shadows. He'd vanish for hours into his studio, emerging hollow-eyed with canvases slashed in rage. "Dad's calling again," he'd mutter, pacing the creaky floorboards. Turns out, Ruiz Sr. was a NYPD vet, retired on a pension that barely covered his Queens brownstone, with a worldview as rigid as rebar. "He thinks art's for dreamers who dodge real work," Gabriel confessed one night, head in my lap as rain pattered the fire escape. Mom dying hit him hard, made him cling tighter to the way things are. Me being gay. He'd sooner disown me than discuss it. I stroked his hair, heart aching. "You're enough. More than. But doubt seeded. Was I strong enough for this? For him? The high tide of us crested mid-November, during Eldridge's Fall Fest. A carnival of hayrides, bonfires, and mulled cider that turned the quad into a Norman Rockwell fever dream. We slipped away midway, finding a quiet spot by the old oak where legend said lovers carved hearts into the bark. Gabriel traced one with his finger, faded initials from 1923, then pulled a pocket knife from his jeans. Our turn. My pulse raced as he carved. J plus G intertwined like vines. Forever's a big word. I teased, but my voice wobbled. Not big enough. He kissed me then, deep and anchoring. The bonfire's glow painting us in gold. Cheers erupted from the crowd. Fireworks blooming overhead. And for a heartbeat, the world felt conquerable. But storms don't warn. They gather. The betrayal hit like lightning, swift, searing. 2 weeks later, at the winter formal prep party in the frat house basement. I'd been dodging invites, but Lena dragged me, promising networking for psych internships. The place reeked of Axe body spray and spilled natty light, bass thumping from speakers that shook the rafters. I nursed a solo cup of punch, scanning for Gabriel. He'd texted running late, studio drama. When I saw them, across the sticky floor under the haze of red party lights, Gabriel leaned close to a guy I vaguely recognized. Theo, a senior poli-sci major with a trust fund jawline and a rep for charming his way through the closet cases. Theo's hand rested low on Gabriel's back, proprietary, and Gabriel didn't pull away. Laughter bubbled between them, intimate, the kind that spoke of history. My stomach plummeted. I froze, cup crumpling in my fist, as Theo leaned in. Not a kiss, but close enough. Whispering something that made Gabriel's shoulders tense, then soften. Betrayal isn't always a knife. Sometimes it's a mirror, reflecting your deepest fears. I bolted upstairs, bursting into the crisp night air, chest heaving like I'd run a marathon. Snow flurries danced under street lamps, the campus a winter wonderland that mocked my unraveling. Why? After the carvings, the confessions, had it all been a game? A phase for him while I cracked open like an egg. Footsteps pounded behind me. Jaden! Wait! I whirled, tears hot on my cheeks. Don't! I saw you. With him. Gabriel skidded to a halt, breath fogging the air. Teo? Jesus, no, it's not. He raked hands through his hair, snow dusting his lashes. He's my ex. From freshman year before I transferred. We hooked up a few times, but it was toxic, jealous, controlling. He showed up tonight, uninvited, begging to talk. I told him we're done, that I'm with you, but he wouldn't let go. Lies. I spat, backing away. You looked comfortable. Comfortable. His voice cracked, raw. That was pity, and fear of making a scene, of dragging you into his bullshit. Jay, you're the one I carved my name for. The one who sees me. Doubt warred with the ache. How do I know? You've got walls too, Gabriel. That studio lock, clicking shut when I ask about your dad. What if this is just convenient? He stepped closer, snow melting on his jacket. Convenient doesn't taste like you do. Doesn't make me want to fight my old man. Come out loud and messy. His eyes, stormy, held mine. I love you, Jaden. Terrifying as that is. The words landed like grace, unearned, transformative. I crumpled forward, his arms catching me as sobs shook loose the dam. We stood there, entwined in the flurry. The party thumped distant as a heartbeat. I love you too, I whispered, the admission a key turning in my chest. But no more secrets. We face this together. He nodded, fierce. Together. That night, back in his studio, we burned bridges to half-truths. Over takeout lo mein and hot toddies he spilled. The letters from his dad, postmarked Queens, laced with pleas to man up, find a nice girl. The therapy sessions he'd skipped, grief for his mom twisting into shame. I confessed my own ghosts, the journal entries I'd shredded, the prayers to a God who seemed deaf to queer hearts. Vulnerability wove us tighter, threads of gold in the dark. But conflict doesn't evaporate. It ferments. December brought finals fog, then break. Me home to Philly's fluorescent family cheer. Him to a Queen's Christmas that felt like exile. Texts bridged the miles. Heart emojis at midnight, voice notes of him humming holiday tunes in Spanish. Miss your laugh, he'd send, and I'd reply with a photo of Mom's tree, twinkling against the snow-globed yard. New Year's Eve I cracked. At a lame house party in my old neighborhood. Eggnog and bad karaoke. I slipped into the backyard, phone in hand, dialed home to him. Come back early? I begged, voice slurred on spiked cider. I need you. I'm here. His end crackled, city static. 2 weeks, amor. Then we're golden. Golden. The word lingered as I rang in the year with forced cheers, fireworks blooming over the Schuylkill. But premonitions whisper, I should have listened. January thawed the snow but not the chill. Campus buzzed with resolutions, gym membership spiking, syllabi stacking like threats. Gabriel and I dove deeper. Study dates in the library carols where his foot hooked mine under the table, weekend drives to Boston's Freedom Trail, holding hands in anonymity's crowd. He sold a piece at a local gallery, Eclipse, the blackout one, and we celebrated with dim sum in Chinatown, toasting to multiplicities over steaming buns. Yet the undercurrent pulled. Theo resurfaced like a bad rash. Anonymous notes in Gabriel's mailbox, miss our nights. Sightings at coffee shops where he'd accidentally bump into us. Gabriel brushed it off, desperate puppy, but tension coiled. Then the bomb. A late-night knock on my dorm door, 2 a.m., mid-February. Lena, eyes red-rimmed, thrusting her phone at me. You need to see this. It was a screenshot from the campus gossip thread. A blurry photo of Gabriel and Theo, locked in what looked like an embrace outside the art building. Timestamp. Last Thursday, when Gabriel swore he was cramming alone. Caption. Art boys back to his old flames? Eldridge T. My world tilted. Betrayal round 2 sharper poisoned. I confronted him at dawn, storming his studio as he brewed coffee, bleary from an all-nighter. Explain this. I flung the printout on his easel, paint tubes scattering like accusations. He paled, scrubbing a hand over his face. Jay, it's not. Theo cornered me after class, begging again. I pushed him off, told him to fuck off. Someone must have snapped it mid-shove. Shove or snuggle. Looks cozy from here. Venom laced my words. Fear's ugly mask. God, you think I'd... Hurt flashed raw. After everything? I told my dad last week. Came out over FaceTime, screaming match that shook the walls. For us. For this. Silence stretched, brittle. Why didn't you say?
Bride.
Shame. Pick your poison. He deflated, shoulders slumping. But doubting me? That's the real knife. We fractured their words weapons in the cold light. I stormed out, slamming the door on his weight. Please. The quad blurred through tears, winter wind whipping like judgment. Classes dragged, psych lectures on attachment theory mocking my unraveling. Friends noticed. Sarah's concerned texts, Lena's awkward silences. I ghosted them all, holing up with textbooks and takeout, replaying the photo like a curse. Climax brewed in the storm's shadow. March gale warnings blanketed the forecast, winds howling like omens. Eldridge canceled outdoor events, but the annual Storm Surge art exhibit, Gabriel's big break, pushed on in the Union Hall. Invites littered my desk, guilt's paper cuts. Go or not, forgiveness or fracture. The night arrived with fury. Skies bruised purple, rain sheeting the windows like veils. I paced my dorm, thunder rumbling my resolve, until, screw it, I threw on a hoodie, dashed through the deluge to the Union. The hall thrummed. Spotlights on sculptures of twisted metal, jazz trio crooning Sinatra in the corner. Gabriel's corner booth drew a crowd, new works, storm-inspired. Gales in acrylic fury, lovers lashed by lightning. He spotted me across the room, mid-conversation with a professor, his face a map of hope and hurt. I wove through, heart pounding louder than the bass. We need to talk. Now? His voice pitched low, eyes flicking to the onlookers. Now. I grabbed his sleeve, towing him to a side alcove where coats piled like barricades. Rain drummed the roof, a percussion to our standoff. "I'm sorry," he started, hands raised, "for not telling you about Theo's ambush, for letting pride blind me. It's not just that." My voice trembled. "It's the fear, Gabriel. Every time doubt creeps, I see my dad's face. Disappointment etched like stone. Your dad's too. What if we're just fooling ourselves?" He closed the distance, palms cupping my face, thumbs brushing rain from my lashes. "Then we fool the world together. But this..." He pressed his forehead to mine, breath mingling. "This is real. I fought for it. Would fight again." Thunder crashed, lights flickering ominously, the storm's taunt. And in that charged hush I broke. "I can't lose you. You won't." His lips found mine, soft at first, then deepening. A vow sealed in salt and storm. The crowd's murmur faded. It was just us, anchors in the gale. Reconciliation isn't a knot tied neat. It's a braid, strands twisting through trials. Post-exhibit, we rebuilt deliberate, weekly check-ins over pie at the campus diner, where pie charts of emotions drawn on napkins charted our vulnerabilities. Gabriel's dad sent radio silence after the blowout, but a tentative email arrived mid-spring. "Proud of your art, Mijo. The rest, we'll talk." Progress fragile as eggshell. Me, I dipped a toe into openness. Told Sarah over iced lattes on the quad, her hug fierce. "Knew you were holding back. Happy for you, Jay." Lena threw a coming-out potluck, veggie lasagna and queer cinema marathon, that left me lighter, unburdened. Spring semester bloomed with us. Cherry blossoms dusting the paths like confetti. Finals crushed in tandem study sessions where flashcards mingled with kisses. Gabriel's thesis show earned raves. Raw, resonant. The campus paper gushed, and we celebrated with a road trip to the Cape. Windows down, Springsteen blasting, Thunder Road. Salt air tangled our hair, waves crashing as we walked the dunes hand in hand. No hiding. A fisherman nodded. Kids built sandcastles oblivious. Normalcy profound. But humanism demands depth. Not fairy tales, but truths etched in effort. The real climax? Not a storm, but a quiet reckoning. Late May, as graduation loomed for him, my junior year winding down. We talked futures. Him to NYC galleries, me chasing grad school dreams in Boston or back home. Distance loomed like a specter. It peaked one humid evening in his studio, canvases leaning like sentinels. He was packing boxes of brushes, rolled prints, humming Bajo La Luna when I arrived with takeout falafel. "Missed you today," I said, setting bags on the card table. "Missed you more." He pulled me close, but his eyes, distant, stormy, betrayed him. "Talk to me." I traced his scar, that lightning bolt mark from a childhood bike crash. He sighed, sinking onto the couch. "Got an offer. Gallery internship in Brooklyn, paid, prestigious. Starts June. But it's full-time and dad. He's thawing, wants me closer. Family dinners, Mijo. Real ones." The words hung, heavy. "And us? I don't know. Honesty, brutal. Love you, God, do I? But roots pull. Yours in Philly, mine split between here and Queens. What if we fade? Long-distance heartbreaks like bad abstracts. Messy, unresolved. Panic-clawed, betrayals echo, but self-inflicted. So we end it? After the storms, the scars?"
No.
He gripped my hands, fierce. "We redefine it. Visits, calls, summers tangled in sheets. Or, one of us bends. Bend. Sacrifice." The conflict crested. My dreams tethered to Eldridge's psych labs, his to the city's pulse. Tears welled. We clung, arguments fracturing into pleas. "I can't lose this," I whispered. "You changed me. Showed me love's not a closet. It's a wide-open sky. And you grounded me," he murmured. "Turned chaos to home." Dawn crept, decisions unborn. But as birdsong pierced the windows, clarity struck. Not in grand gestures, but quiet resolve. "Go to Brooklyn," I said, voice steady. "Chase the light. I'll visit weekends, breaks. We'll weave the miles into something stronger. He searched my face, then nodded, relief blooming. And grad school? You'll apply to Columbia psych programs. Close enough for stolen nights. A plan, humanistic, growth over stasis, love as evolution. We sealed it with a kiss, slow and certain. The studio's clutter a testament to our mess made beautiful. Commencement came in a blur of mortarboards and cheers. Gabriel walked first, diploma in hand. Me in the stands hollering till hoarse. Post-ceremony, under the old oak. Our carved hearts weathered but whole. We promised. Thunder roads ahead, but together. Summer scattered us. Him interning amid Manhattan's grind, sketching subway souls. Me in Philly, interning at a crisis hotline, voices on the line echoing my own past silences. Weekends blurred city to suburb. Amtrak rides ending in frantic reunions. His apartment a haven of half-unpacked boxes and shared silences. Fall found me back at Eldridge. Senior year a whirlwind of capstone projects and queer alliance meetings where I spoke haltingly of us. Anonymous, but proud. Gabriel's calls lit the nights. Sold another piece today. Titled it Anchor. For you. Holidays healed further. Thanksgiving in Queens. Dad Ruiz's handshake tentative. But the table talk turned to art, not accusations. Mom Harper's Christmas. Apple pie served with a side of, who's this charming artist? Acceptance tentative, but there. By spring's thaw, we'd woven a tapestry, visits routine, love resilient. No grand tragedy, no fairy tale gloss. Just two men, scarred and soaring, choosing each other daily. The blackout, that stranger's kiss. It wasn't the end, but the spark, igniting a path not straight, but true. Now, as I pack for Columbia's grad orientation, Gabriel's burrow waiting, I trace our carving on the oak, initials deepened by time. Thunder rumbles distant, a reminder. Storms pass, but the light we find, that's eternal.